Okay, Mark Vergeer here. Time to do some VIC-20 gaming. Well, first let me tell you something about this beast. This is a Commodore 64 and everybody knows this system. And the VIC-20 was its predecessor, and my VIC-20 actually looks like this. And as you can see, it basically has the same case. It's not exactly the same case because the VIC-20 case is just a tad less high, but the keyboard is the same and the function keys are a different color. The Commodore 64 actually came out in various colors as well. They also have different stripes and of course the other models, the C models. But this VIC-20 I got from a friend of my wife at work, and yeah, sadly it has decolored badly. It was very white. It was a very white model. This was created in Germany, and yeah, what distinguishes this from the Commodore 64 is the fact that it only has one joystick port, and it uses a similar power supply, and it has a huge whopping ass cartridge port that holds big cartridges like this. And actually this cartridge is a very special cartridge. It's the Denial Mega Cart, and it allows me to play yeah, a lot of VIC-20 software. This actually contains a lot of the VIC-20 software, so this basically is some sort of EverDrive without additional storage facilities. It does expand the memory of the VIC, and it has tools, so if you hook up a real disk drive or a 1541 Ultimate in standalone operation, and it's the Ultimate one, then you can actually use all sorts of disk software with this machine as well. Yeah, fun thing, this has serial number 139, and yeah, there haven't been a lot made, but yeah, it's a very cool thing. It shoves in like this, and yeah, it sits on the shelf right below my Commodore 64, and I often play games with it on it. So yeah, sadly on my VIC-20 the faceplate is missing, and I think I may actually get a replacement. I'll keep gaming on this, but I want a nicer VIC, a nicer cosmetic looking VIC. Because this may have been in a smoker's home too, so yeah, maybe some nicotine staining as well, and yeah, but cool. Let's go on and see some of the games, because I have been checking out some of the classics, and yeah, let's go take a look. Okay, sit back and relax, because this is going to be a long video. As you can see, this is a cool video and it's not perfect. You see some interference, and yeah, I just powered on the VIC with the basic memory, so you can only see it only has 3.5 or 3K of memory. Anything more than a Hello World program and the memory is full almost. So yeah, I think I better reset it. And this is actually the interface that you get when you boot it up with the cartridge, the multiple game cartridge, and it features some nice music. Well, nice music. Yeah, the sound chip is a bit different than the. It's not the SID like we know from the Commodore 64, but it was quite advanced, and some games really made quite good use of this. So yeah, why not play Defender? This is actually a very cool port. I did play this before. I showed footage of this before on my channel. There was a Defender challenge by Retro Gamer VX, I believe, and I entered it with this. But I mean, this machine doesn't have any sprites. You gotta remember that. I mean, it only has character mode graphics and high resolution graphics. So basically there was no way of detecting collision hits. Yeah, I'm messaged by a good friend, SynthMonkey. There's no way to get any sort of sprite movement going. The programmers really had to make that themselves, and they did so in a fantastic way, probably very similar to the techniques used on the ZX Spectrum, which also doesn't have any graphics. Doesn't have any sprites. So yeah, but I mean, this really looks the part, and although the scrolling is a bit coarse, I mean, it moves I think 8 pixels per per move. There's no smooth scrolling. But let's check out another game, Dig Dug. It's I just decided to go for the classics, so you'll see what stuff this machine was capable of. And for a spriteless machine, this really is an amazing game. I'll play the games until I get the first game over, and I'll move on to another game. But the music is there, the multicolor opponents are there, and the stones are there, the colors are there. I mean, it really is a cool game. And I mean, back in the day, I mean, the Atari 2600 was out, the Apple II, and I actually think these graphics surpass quite a few of the Apple II game graphics. I mean, the colors are just amazing. But it was much more limited than the Commodore 64. It only had 2 sound channels and not all the waveforms that the SID chip has. And it seems that I have died, indeed. Just, trying to show you clips of the game. Destroying a dragon on the process and getting my ass kicked over here. Yeah, hopefully I'm able to get that dragon. Ooh, stone's in the way. Oh, it's gonna... Yeah. Moving on. Yeah, sorry about the slight flickering that is going on. I think that is some interference from a power supply that was actually close to the video cord, so I need to remove that or put that in a different position. So yeah, end of game. And let's switch to another game. As you can see, there's quite a few. There's cartridge games, but there's also disc and tape-based games. And this Attack of the Mutant Camels. I mean, Jeff Minter really did an awesome job programming all these VIC-20 games, and they sound amazing. They really push the machine. Yeah, I mean, Jeff is known to push any machine. Of course, there's a Commodore 64 version for this game as well, and this is a tough game. All his games are ridiculously tough. Twitch graphics, also always very psychedelic, and I love them to bits. So basically, this is some sort of Defender. No, not Defender. It's kind of a centipede type of game with some Defender elements in it as well. And yeah, you get attacked from both sides, and you can only shoot upward. The bottom enemy actually attacks from at certain intervals, so you know when they fire, so you can move safely across them when they don't fire. And if you do that wrong, you explode. Yeah, I used to play this a lot, but I haven't in a while, so kind of out of practice. Oops. Gotcha. But I keep advancing. Yeah, so, and I mean, this does look like smooth scrolling, you know, the red background, but it is actually not the machine itself scrolling some high resolution graphics. It's actually a character set that is changed dynamically. So there's one type of character printed on the screen, and its content is changed. So everything that's on the screen that is printed with that character is changed accordingly. So you basically emulate smooth scrolling. On the ZX Spectrum, actually, a technique like that is used too for creating and game graphics and playing fields. And that's often the reason why smaller game screens are used on the Spectrum, because the character set is only limited to 256 characters and some control characters, so you can't fill up an entire screen. Another game, Buck Rogers. Yeah, very cool looking game by Sega. I think it really pushes the hardware, and it's a. I mean, I need to get a hang of the controls here because. I mean, and looking at this, it's amazing to see what they do with it, because these aren't sprites, but they act and look like sprites. And there's color clashes. So that's interesting. So what you actually see is a various techniques used on the VIC-20 to have game graphics appear. Dynamically modifying character sets, characters being printed on the screen. What also happens is that there's an interlaced mode between high-resolution graphics, bitmap graphics that are drawn onto the screen, and character-based mode. I'm not sure about bitmap graphics actually. Not sure if the VIC actually had that. Must have, but it could be that only they state a resolution. So yeah, I guess yeah. I didn't program the VIC myself. I programmed the C64. So I actually was saving up for VIC-20, and then I noticed the Atari 600 and 800 XL machines. So I decided to save up for those because they were more advanced and well, similar specs to the C64, which was totally out of my reach, and the Atari 800 XL I thought was in my reach. So I was saving up for that, and my parents actually ended up getting a C64. So that saved me from buying an Atari. But it means that I never actually owned an Atari when I was saving up for it. I made up for it by owning an Atari now. It has been for quite some time actually. And this game really gets quite interesting quite soon. Here you really have to fly in between those pods because there's electric currents going on the outside, but you have a tendency to oversteer. And oops. There's a Commodore 64 port for this too, which has similar levels, but is executed completely different. I think actually the VIC-20 graphics of the pods and some of the ships look better because on the Commodore 64 they made the decision to make the sprites really coarse. So another game. Yeah, I think I showed this 2, but in a previous video, but I mean it does fit in nicely over here. Press 1 to start. Yeah, this actually is playing very nicely. There's a bit of inertia going on. Actually, in some ways it simulates a trackball in a way, but it also makes the game a little tougher to play. And there's actually color clash that may have been avoided, but they didn't. So the centipede sometimes changes into the color of the mushrooms, but I guess that they chose that because it would cost processing time to change that around. Yeah, I think regular players probably won't notice this, and I'm a nitpicker, so hey, sue me. So this game is moving along at a nice pace, and you really think, oh, I can get the hang of it, I can play this. But you soon find out that you are sadly mistaken. And that spider always gets me. It really always gets me. So, game over. Shall I play it again or no? Let's see. Choplifter, another classic. And the cool thing about this card is that it actually shows you how to start certain games. So yeah, this actually shows that the VIC-20 has a bitmap graphics mode, and the programmers more or less created their own software sprites instead of hardware sprites. Yeah, so it's and sometimes you see a lot of flickering in the VIC games, and that's because they use interlaced modes where high resolution graphics and character-based graphics are interchanged. So basically you have half the frame rate in a way, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And I think this really looks good. I mean, for a machine, you know, that actually doesn't have any sprites itself, they did manage to pull off something resembling sprites quite nicely. But you would have to come up with some pretty fancy high-resolution plotting. And, as you can see, they managed to do some smooth scrolling. At least something that looks like smooth scrolling. Which, another level. These planes, I mean, if they are below you, it's not a big deal, but if you try to fly, you often encounter them and they drop down the bombs. The house is already empty. Let's move on to the other one. Whoops! First is and it's very easy to fly into the oncoming planes. Played this a lot in Commodore 64. Haven't played the VIC-20 version much, but it really looks the part, I think. Whoops! And another destruction of a helicopter. Oh, reset the machine and let's find out another game. I'll go for the obvious titles that everybody knows, or at least Congo Bongo. Yeah. Whoop. And also a classic. Oh, you can choose for a keyboard. Well, I have a joystick, so That looks nice. Oh, okay. Yeah, this really moves along. Whoops, and you're easy to make a mistake. Yeah. Here you can see that the programmers have used less advanced techniques. They just use character positions to plot the graphics. Basically, they changed around the character set and may actually be using standard counter ASCII characters in a way. And I mean, the game itself feels quite good. How do you say that? Because you feel that the physics are pretty similar, but the way the graphics are displayed, whoops, yeah, you easily miss jumping on that leaf. But the way the graphics are displayed is rather coarse, so it's a tough game because of that. But multiple screen arcade games were possible on the limited VIC. And these were all arcades. These were all cartridge games, so they could probably use quite a bit more memory and have the and use the RAM on the VIC as for variables and stuff. The VIC was capable of, the system itself was capable of addressing about 32 kilobytes, and various RAM extensions were produced, allowing the VIC to use about 32K memory. Whoops. Yeah, you easily, if you approach it with the Frogger dynamics in mind, you make mistakes. If you let that go and just look at the game graphics and yeah, imagine the game graphics to jump a character position and adjust your timing accordingly, then it's actually quite playable. But it does feel different from the arcade game. Whereas Defender, for example, I mean, it looked coarse, but it played very much like the arcade. So what it lacked in smoothness, it made up for feel, gameplay feel. And this is a bit coarse when you play it. It feels a bit coarse when you play it. Yeah, it's hard to convey what playing these old games actually does or feels like, but yeah, it does feel a bit coarse. And on the VIC, a lot of the games actually feel very good. They feel smooth. They don't look all that smooth always, but they feel good. So, okay. I think I forgot Beam Rider, which was also a very nice port, but Donkey Kong is there too, and not a bad port if I say so myself. It's fast. It's a lot faster than most other 8-bit ports. And this is running on a PAL machine. Can you imagine what this does on a NTSC system, which is a bit faster? Not sure if I'll be able to, whoops. Yeah, Mr. Kong really is throwing those barrels quite fast. I mean, for the limitation of the machine, this is a great game. So let's reset it and move on. Let's see. Go Action. Yeah, this is also a very cool port. This actually plays a bit faster than the Commodore 64 version. And the sounds are a bit garish, perhaps, but yeah, let's see how far I got with just a single go at it until I reach my first game over. It really plays nice, plays well. As you can see, all the enemy patterns of the arcade game are there. And I always forget if it's Galaxians or Galaga that has the spaceship home in on you and abduct you, and if you shoot it back, you take it back, you double your firepower. I think that's Galaga. Galaxians is the original game, so yeah, we seem to be going pretty well here. This plays very nice. Yeah, like I said, the Commodore 64 version is actually a bit slower. I think it used similar techniques like used in the VIC. But the thing is that the VIC has a much lower resolution, and there's a lot less data to push around. I think on the Commodore 64 the resolution is quite a bit higher, and they used a similar graphics mode, but that mode on the C64 is a higher resolution graphics mode, and that probably makes the game slower. Not sure, maybe just you know, talking rubbish here, but yeah, you'll see if you take a look at the Commodore 64 version. It really looks very similar, and yeah, if you examine the code, it's quite similar in a way. So yeah, let's destroy them before they take all our bases. All your bases are belong to us, they scream. Hey. I'm really on the roll here. Down to one last ship, so I mean, I'm on a roll, but I'm also quite vulnerable. And again, for a spriteless machine, this ain't bad. Whoops. Okay. Right. Game over? No, just the one. Just the one left. Okay. Let's reset the machine and see if there's any other game to try. I'm on a roll here, so I mean, I don't care if it is an hour long. Yeah. Oh, Grid Run. Oh, didn't I do that already? Oh, let's have a go. No, that's not. The video is long enough as it is. What else? Something with that Jupiter lander. Oh, yeah, it controls with keys, right? Yeah. Okay. This is actually a game that I played a lot, but I don't fancy doing a key game right now. So let's see. Laser Zone. Another great one of Jeff Minter, and that's actually before his Lamasoft. It's HES. Not sure what that stands for, but yeah, it's a cool game. As you are now, you have changed the roles. In Grid Runner, you were the one moving around the screen, and there would be vertical and horizontally shooting turrets. And now you basically control the turrets. If you move, there's a snag. You can actually shoot diagonally if you move the joystick diagonally, but you can actually shoot the other turret. So, I mean, there's a bonus, but for shooting diagonally. But yeah, you can actually destroy it yourself and lose life. So yeah, it's like playing. It's like playing two different games with two parts of your brain. The two halves of your brain. One half does the lower and one half does the right turn. Not really, but you know, it's kind of a schizoid gaming action. I like that effect when you die. That crazy weird. And the game gets quite fast. Whoops. I just keep shooting. Yeah, and these enemies, they appear randomly all throughout the maze, so I mean, you would think it would be wise to move all the way to the left and all the way to the top. But I think it's more prudent to just return to the center position, just like, you know, like you're playing tennis, because the chances of you being closer to one of the enemies is actually much higher if you just return to the center position in both levels. And quite fancy. I mean, these little aliens, they're moving smoothly. So probably they are using 4 character positions, or 2 or 4 character positions, where this alien is plotted. Oh yeah. So you don't get destroyed when they hit the rail you're on, but you get destroyed when they hit your turret. So you can actually move away from the one that approaches you. You can't, yeah, and perhaps actually do the diagonal shot thing, but I wasn't able to. So reset the machine. Very interesting gameplay. Not explored that enough. I may have to go. I will go back to that. Not in a video, perhaps, but oh man. So many games to choose from. Oh wow, this has an interesting graphics mode. The top border is actually gone. It may actually be an NTSC mode game or something, but yeah. And they probably are doing some sort of interlace interrupt thing, because there's actually images of game avatars moving in front of each other. Very nice looking game, a classic, and yeah, I keep dying by that first enemy. I mean, it should be fairly easy to jump him, but for some reason I don't seem to get the timing right. Okay, let's try again. Oh. Just walking into it. Right. Yeah, a reset probably is the best thing. Let me see what else. Mission Impossible. Not sure what that was. An adventure game. No, I don't want to restore. Cool. Yeah, only possible on cartridge. I mean, can you imagine a text-based adventure in 3K? Nah. Moon Patrol. Yeah, one of my all-time classics. Favorites, I mean. Okay, so smooth scrolling action, and there's this moon type of inertia going on. Starts out fairly simple. Okay, so there's objects appearing in front of you, and you're able to shoot up, which is a good thing because you're attacked by flying saucers. You're moving along the moon, and in the background you actually see some shapes of mountains, and you have this inertia thing going on, and as long as you dodge the holes, the craters, shoot or jump the objects that appear in front of you, you'll be alright. And I do believe there's also a speed bonus, so that if you move quickly you'll get more points. It also tells you to be cautious because you have less response time. And I'm not sure what's the best technique actually. I think moving halfway up the screen is the best because you have a way to maneuver, and if you want to postpone jumping or whatever, you can actually pull left on the trigger and stand still for a bit. Okay, so another... Whoops. Okay, so this actually... It becomes more difficult because it's speeding up, and the enemies are approaching faster. And I mean, the machine has a lot more power to to display the games, the game graphics fast, because I mean it is actually moving along faster and pretty smooth. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. Jump sooner or try to shoot it from the other side of the hole. I'm not sure. Let's see. No, that doesn't work. And it's game over. Oh well, let's reset the machine. Put it out of its misery. A very cool game. What else? Yeah, there's so many so many good games. I can only do a couple of them, and I already am making a huge whooping ass video. Oh, Miss Pac-Man, also a classic. Yeah, I really like this game, and I think it looks good. I mean. And it looks a bit weird actually, because it looks a bit squashed. Yeah, the fact that little dots don't have the same spacing all over the maze is a bit weird. But yeah, they were having to make do with quite limited graphical options, and the way they did this actually is pretty darn good. I mean, color-wise, it looks the part, and they managed to squeeze in the entire game screen that is just like the arcade game screen in this resolution. I mean, on the Game Boy and on quite a few consoles, the NES, the Tengen version running on the NES, they actually didn't find they could fit in the arcade graphics, and they were scrolling the screen even. Whereas the poor small Vic actually does it without scrolling and just fits it in, much like the Commodore 64 version. It's really weird. Sometimes when I turn on this game, what happens is that it's displayed all on the button top, where now the border is, and now it's displaying in the center like a Commodore 64, you know, it has a border as well. Not sure what's up with that, but yeah. And luckily, the ghosts have their stupid moments, so, I mean, if they were homing in on you constantly, you'd have no chance of ever avoiding them. But they have their stupid moments built in, and their own little patterns, and I like this game a lot. You constantly have to switch between peripheral vision, I just yeah, that happens when you talk. You constantly have to switch your attention from the local action and the peripheral action. And there's even a second screen. I mean, okay, there was a missing animation in between, but yeah, I mean, it's a 3K machine, come on. But it has the second screen also. It would be very cool if I managed to beat the second screen, but for some reason I find this the most difficult screen of the Miss Pac-Man games. Basically because the power palettes, they really only give you a very limited amount of free time to chase the ghosts, and there's a lot of how do you say that? There's a lot of long alleyways where you only have an entrance a long stretch that you can only reach with 2 entrances, so they can home in on you. You can get caught in between fairly easy. Okay, there were a couple of distractions just now. Yeah, I didn't close the door, so yeah, other people moving around the house can easily be heard. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if I'll be able to have enough lives, if I will be able to get to the next level, because it will be interesting to see if the other levels are in there as well. Could only be these 2, could also be the 4. I think they did a wonderful job creating this game on the... really makes me wonder what the Pac-Man game looks like, because that's out there as well. Well, I know what it is, but you probably are curious after it too. But I can say that this actually looks a whole lot better and plays a whole lot better than the Pac-Man game. Yeah. Oops. Oh man, I just I just run into these ghosts when they're alive. Yeah. Yeah, Pac-Man, especially Miss Pac-Man, is a game where you constantly have to shift your focus from the periphery, I mean, to yeah, where the action is, and also you have to shift from eating all the pills to taking the power pills out and taking the ghosts out. Which is tough because, yeah, if you chase the ghosts too much, you won't have the time and the freedom to eat the dots. And sometimes you have to use a power pill just to get some time and get some relief from the ghosts chasing you. And yeah, I thought that was a good idea, but it isn't. Game over. I won't be able to show you the other levels. Let's move on to another game. What's that? Pac-Man, yeah. Okay. Well, it looks promising. And this is not really what the game looks like, but I mean, yeah. Right. I mean, they did manage the smooth movement of the Pac-Man, but it really flips around the corners, as do the ghosts, which really makes it tough to avoid them. I mean, you either jump in front of the ghost, or the ghost jump on top of you, and I mean, it looks better than it plays, and compared to the Miss Pac-Man, I mean, the Miss Pac-Man really feels like the Miss Pac-Man on the Commodore 64. It really does. I mean, the gameplay, it feels cool. This is coarse, like Frogger. So, I mean, they did a wonderful job. Not that I, you know, but yeah, it doesn't feel the part. Another game. Pharaoh, yeah. Pharaoh's Curse, also out on the Commodore 64, and this actually has a lot of levels and high resolution graphics. And I think they in this game they use some sort of I thought I could jump that like in Prince of Persia, but I can't. You can also shoot, but you have to avoid the pins. But where do I go now? Can I climb up? I forgot. And now I jump again. Okay. Well, as you can see, it's yeah, I can't go up there. Oh, and I get destroyed. It's fairly easy to, and you see a few of the levels that are in there. Quite a nice maze game, platform game. One of the better ones. Well executed, plays well, but it's tough as nails. Pinball Spectacular. Push the surf, but you need a paddle. I don't have a paddle, so. Full position. Yeah. Not sure why they used these colors. A blue road is not something that you see very often. I think it's a way to, well, you'll see that the cars actually move. Oh, wow. It's almost like watching Android 2 on the Amstrad CPC. Garish color palette, but I guess they had to use it because of speed restrictions. As you can see, I mean, the car really moves around like a real sprite. It isn't. It's either character graphics or an interlaced high resolution graphics mode that is used. But the physics are actually quite doable. I mean, it looks better than it plays actually, but it's kind of coarse, but the Commodore 64 version feels better. Yeah, it's a shame. It's really tough to convey the gameplay, how a game feels with these old games, because some of the games really feel very nice, well, and others are horrible or very coarse. So you have me to tell you that this game actually is in between. It looks rather smooth, but it isn't. And it's very easy to oversteer. Not sure whether pedal controls would actually improve it, but yeah, you can see me zooming in and out. I mean, it's very easy to oversteer. If you compensate for that and get a feel for it, the game actually is a lot more manageable. And it's a quite a nice racer actually. But the Blue Road, come on. I guess they wanted a blue sky and they didn't want to waste processing power to do some other colors, interrupt things, and as you can see, they really squished the screen. And they did use some sort of raster interrupt for the green of the outside of the color, because you can actually see a line jumping up and down a little bit. So yeah, the scan line interrupt. Oops. Yeah, it's very tough. driving in between two cars. So yeah, game over. Game over, man. I'm not gonna play it again. Let's check out another game. Man, this is pushing 50 minutes. I mean, this is really becoming one big ass video. Q*bert, cool. Yeah, Q*bert. Yeah. Okay. This really feels very coarse. I mean, it doesn't feel like the original game at all. I mean, it's just, it flops around positions where in the original Q*bert you actually had a delay, you know, that the character jumped and you had some time to think, and at the same time not, because I mean the enemies were advancing in on you. So it plays faster, it's more coarse, and yeah, it doesn't feel like the same, like the real game, which is a shame. But yeah. Ah, Raider Rat Race. Of course, it's a Rally X clone. Commodore brought this out on the Commodore 64 version as well, which is surprisingly similar. They use character graphics and they just plot the game screen. The game screen is actually very similar to the Commodore 64 version. You know, the way the maze is laid out. And I actually quite like this game. It's one of the cartridge games that I have for the Commodore 64. And it's among one of the first games that I played on the system. And yeah, basically it's a Rally X clone with mice and cats. And yeah, Eek it says instead of Crash or whatever. Yeah. Of course you can. Yeah, I'm not sure what this mouse leaves behind. Is magic, or is it farts, or is it cat hairballs or whatever? I mean, it seems to repel the cats, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense for the mouse to leave some stuff behind that repels cats. Not sure what they came up with the storyline and stuff, but yeah, I mean, in Rally X it's obvious, you know, it's I mean, a car has stuff that it, you know, expels and stuff, and you can have oil and all sorts of, but for a mouse to leave something behind, yeah, perhaps toxic farts. Game over. So yeah, Vic Rat Race, cool game. Very cool game, Rally X clone. River Rescue. Not sure if there's actually a River Raid on the system, but River Rescue is kind of a sideways version of it. Actually, it looks very nice, and it's a very simple game. Oops. Yeah, you have to shoot those. You have to shoot everything, and you don't pick up anything. Yeah, I was looking for some fuel things, but you just have to avoid everything, and sometimes the little stream gets a lot narrower. You just destroy everything. At least that's what I think. I really like the wake effect behind the little boat, and it moves around smoothly. So yeah, they probably are using multiple character positions and blitz the boat differently in those positions. The game screen is wrapped around, is scrolling, and it's scrolling at a character position per position, per scrolling position. So, oh, that's kind of busy over there. Whoops! Yeah, I'm going a bit too fast. So no smooth. Hey, that's my birth year, 1974. Whoa! Game over. Well, kind of a nice game. Very simple, but yeah, kind of a nice game. But no River Raid. Yeah, this also is a game that is very cool. A very cool port of an arcade game that really looks the part, plays the part, and I'm having some issues with, yeah, I'm having some issues with my joystick. I really need a different joystick because sometimes it doesn't register the fire button. So that's why I die here. But yeah, smoothly moving game characters with proper colors. And yeah, I'm surprised by this. I mean, this really looks good. It's very tough though because it's very crowded. The game screen is very crowded, but very good port. Very impressed. It looks and sounds and feels like the original game. It's a bit slower perhaps. I wonder, yeah, no, of course, there's not. I was thinking, I wonder if it uses two joysticks, but the VIC only has one joystick, so. I mean, the Commodore 64 version and the Atari versions, they support dual joystick action, so dual stick, like the arcade, very cool. But not on the VIC. So what else? I forgot. There's a scramble version on this system as well, I think, but I missed that, and I also missed Bean Rider. But Seamus, yeah, a Berserk type of game. It's also out on the Commodore 64. Uses high resolution graphics. Not sure if it uses a character-based system or if it uses a high-resolution screen. It may use both, I'm not sure. It's a nice game. It really looks confusing, that blob of enemies all plotted over on top of each other. Yeah, the walls are electrified, so I mean if you touch them you're dead, like Berserk. And the enemies shoot at you. Luckily there is no evil auto homing in on you. There's just a lot of enemies and a lot of enemies. A lot of bullets, I mean, and a lot of enemies. And yeah, using an 8-directional joystick really works, but yeah, cool game. Let's reset the machine. So what else? And I really should be wrapping it up shortly because, you know, a video over an hour long just showing all these classic VIC-20 games, who's gonna watch it? Curious, though, if you guys like these long videos. Personally, I think shorter videos are better. Oh, look, they have a Rally X. Yeah, this is actually the original, but they had to change it around because of a lawsuit. I mean, Rally X, of course, is Rally X. Rat Race. Look, this, I mean, yeah, a smoke curtain or an oil spill. You know, that's something that's obvious for a cart, but a mouse leaving behind toxic farts, I'm not sure, but it's basically the same game. This Rally X game never came out on the C64 though. The C64 only has the one that is the Roland, what is it? The Rat Race. Roland Rat. Yeah. What else? Oh, a very nice shooter, yeah. And this is actually the last game I'm going to show. It's a very nice shooter with very nice alien graphics. It's fast, and I have a hard time figuring out what to do with the spaceship. You can't shoot the alien spaceship that's descending. I'm only thinking that it is some sort of time thing. I also know that when it reaches a certain height, it captures you like this, and you lose a life. So I'm not sure if you can shoot the aliens faster. Perhaps if you do, the descent of the spaceship is delayed. There's no special power-ups that you can use to kill the aliens faster or the spaceship faster, not that I know of. Yeah, it gets quite a bit faster in speed. Plays very well, plays very nicely. I mean, it's a nice little game. Yeah, shooting at it just doesn't. I mean, you do advanced levels, but it's a nice looking game. I'm not sure about the alien though. It's the spaceship going there. What is it doing? I guess it's to invoke some sort of tension, you know, a random countdown, arbitrary random countdown introduces suspense, so I guess, yeah, the descending spaceship and you losing yet another life. Do you seem to gain lives? I'm not sure. I think it's just you losing lives, but perhaps you actually gain lives if you are fast enough. But it's a game that eventually ends when you run out of lives. And the alien does seem to descend quicker and quicker, or does seem to start at a lower point. So yeah, cool game. Like it. Down to my last life. I want to live! I want to live! So they really are throwing a ton of bullets down at me. Let me see if I can get into the 1900s, yes. Oops, and then I'm captured, so I guess it's game over here, and yeah, and time for me to reset the VIC-20. Yeah, that's it. Just some of the basics. I'm just running over an hour here. Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video. Probably shorter, not sure.